We got a little bit of volatility, but it went the wrong way. Not the volatility we wanted. We wanted up, it went a little bit down. Ever so slightly down on Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is at this very, very, very important point now in the trend line. Super, super, super important point. It kind of needs to bounce at around this 28,800. If it doesn't, that means we go below this trend line that we've been in since December. And that's not really good. Now, we had volatility on Bitcoin yesterday. It was kind of strange. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was like this candle that came down. It was like one candle that went down, and that one candle that went down took with it a lot of the open interest. So this at the bottom here is the open interest. You can see when these candles went down, when this candle went down, it closed the leverage here on Bitcoin. It closed the leverage, and we also got a whole lot of liquidation. So just look at those liquidations. It almost looks like they were hunting to get these liquidations, but it actually wasn't limited to crypto. It was actually a move down on the stock markets and a move down on the crypto markets. And I think the stock markets are worried about two things. They're worried about China. They're worried about this banking downgrade. We're going to talk about the banking downgrade today, because it does seem like some of the big US banks are now maybe at risk of being downgraded. Now, if they are at risk of being downgraded, I'm going to show you why that actually might be a decent thing for Bitcoin, maybe even a good thing for Bitcoin. So, I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Banks downgraded. Well, where do you go? You go somewhere where it's where you get something better than the banks, which is banks 2.0, which is Bitcoin. When we got that move yesterday in Bitcoin, I don't know if you saw the altcoins, but the altcoins actually got obliterated. Everything is red. Everything is red, including Tomi, which is actually one of our sponsors. It's red. It's pink, but it's also red. Maybe a good buying opportunity. You guys go and do the homework that you need to do. I'm not going to talk about it because they are a sponsor. Suffice to say, obviously I am long. You see 𝗧's up 21.78%. That is because the Koreans have got hold of it. But I did notice this. If you toggle between the daily and the hourly on the bubbles, you can see in the last hour, it started to come down quite a bit. It's down 5.3%. I'm going to show you why this token is down, but also why you shouldn't be shorting. I know a lot of you are tempted to short it. I wouldn't be shorting that. The dominance went up. Dominance up to 50.44%. It was at 47.7%, so that's not so good. Rune doing very, very well. It's the only token that actually didn't move down. 151.2. It even went as high as 166.7. That was quite good. And then GMX got obliterated. Look at that. Look at GMX, got absolutely obliterated. We'll talk about that and whether it's an opportunity. So we've got a lot to talk about. We're also going to be talking about Coinbase. So Coinbase today got permission from the regulators to launch futures leverage in the United States, which is big news, because up until now there hasn't been a leveraged futures exchange in the United States, a regulated leverage futures exchange in the United States, and Coinbase is now the first one. So that could be big news, and specifically if you are in the United States, that also could bring Coinbase one step further, or could bring the USA one step further to the ETF. So listen, I know there's not much price movement. I know when the price movement is kind of going the wrong way for us, but I just thought I'd make your day, guys.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go. Get up, and then they got
Put it, come on. Put it.
Time to wake up, bitch, get up. Get up. Get up.
All right, wakey, rise and shine. I thought I'd play that for you, DJs. Can you guys hear me? Here we go. I thought I'd play that song for the DJs just to get the spirits back up here, to get the juices flowing. Now, listen, if you are one of the people that actually want that song and like that song, if it does give you the tinglies to get you out of bed, well, then smash the like button. Smash the like. Obliterate the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. To those of you who watched our show yesterday, I got a lot of feedback about the show yesterday around China. Some people said it was the best show that I've done in a long time. Other people said, oh, you're being so sensationalist and whatever else. It was a big show. So listen, go and watch that show if you haven't done it. It's called China is Collapsing Right Now. This may be the foundations of what happens in crypto and in the markets for the next 6 months. Very, 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 very important show. I know it feels boring, but we are going to get a move soon. And I hate saying that we're going to get a move soon because then I just sound like all of the YouTubers. Bitcoin is coiling up. Big move coming soon. Listen, but you do know that it's boring when you go to Twitter and you go to, I actually really like this account. It's called Mando, Rect Mando. He's actually on our research group now. And he does like a daily summary. And if you look at the news in his daily summary, BitBoy is moving to Dubai. Like, is that news? Like, is that what it's come to? We start talking about who's moving to Dubai. Yes, so I did say that I think there is going to be some kind of move on the market, and it has to happen, guys. It has to happen because when you get periods of no volatility, then the Bollinger Bands compress, and then you got to get a move. Now, I know we've been saying it for a long time, but eventually it will come. You can see the Bollinger Bands. You can see the Bollinger Bands show you how tight the volatility is, or how little volatility there is in the markets. Just look at those Bollinger Bands. They haven't been this low. They were once in 2023 and they bounced. It's looking like there is a move that needs to happen. Now, which way is the move going to go? All I can say is that the last few times that the Bollinger Bands have been this low or anywhere near this level, over here, you can see what's happened. The market's actually shot up. So I'm not going to say that, the past doesn't predict the future, obviously. But I'm just saying that here, the last 2 times, actually 4 times that this happened, we had a massive move up. So let's hope that this move is actually going to be up. And listen, if you are demotivated in this market, I get it. Like, I hear you. I get it. I've been there. You can do what everybody else is doing. You can just pivot to AI. Okay, so one of the things you can do if you're very, very demotivated in the crypto market, you can pivot to AI. A lot of people are saying that that's the right move. And if you do pivot to AI, you are not alone. Trust me, you're not alone if you pivot to AI. Gary Gensler is also pivoting to AI. So it's not only you, it's Gary Gensler pivoting to AI. He's now starting to tweet about AI. I believe that AI is the most transformative tech of our time, on par with the internet and mass production of cars. AI is used in finance for account openings, compliance programs, trading algorithms, sentiment analysis, and more. It's fueled the change. And then he goes on with this whole long tweet about AI and he says, we at the SEC are technology neutral. We focus on the outcomes rather than the tool itself. Securities laws, though, may be implicated depending on how much AI tech or how the AI tech is used. Within our current authorities, we're focused on protecting both the micro and macro challenges. So listen, if you want to pivot, you are in good company. You and Gary Gensler can both pivot to AI. Maybe if he does pivot to AI, he will leave us alone and maybe even approve our ETF finally, because we deserve an ETF approval. We really do deserve an ETF approval. When it comes to ETF approval, a lot of channels yesterday were reporting that Gary Gensler has delayed all approvals of ETFs until 2024. Okay, it's garbage. It never happened. I was quite disappointed by some of the channels. I'm not going to mention any names. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But you cannot report a story based on a tweet by this account. The whole Gary Gensler postpones is based on a tweet by Whale Chart. Now, if you know Whale Chart, he has some good stuff on his tweets, but I would say 50% of his tweets are absolute garbage. So be careful. You can't do that. There are still a lot of deadlines in 2023. All these deadlines are in 2023. Look, 2023, 2023. Now, I do believe that Gary Gensler is only going to approve an ETF in 2024. But that does not, he hasn't said anything about that at all. The other big decision that that some channels were reporting on yesterday, saying it's going to be a big day for Grayscale. No, nonsense. There's no big day for Grayscale. We're waiting for the outcome of the legal argument in Grayscale. And even if Grayscale actually win the case, it does not mean that we're going to get an ETF. It just means that they've won the case. And the court's going to say, you cannot deny the ETF based on these things. But you can deny the ETF based on something else. So that is the story. That is the story when it comes to the ETFs. Let's talk a little bit about, in fact, let's talk about China. Yesterday, we did this show about China. And a lot of people said it was an amazing. Someone says, we are not George. I said nothing. Someone said he can't stop it. Someone said time to 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗏. Okay, well, yesterday we did a show. The show was mainly about China. China. Remember how Trump used to say it? China. How does he say it? China. We did a show about China. Everyone said some people said it was like the best show we've ever done. Other people said, what are you panicking about? Why are you talking about China? You're being alarmist. Now, it's wrong. Because if you don't understand why it's so important, you don't understand your macroeconomics. So I'm going to repeat a few things that I said yesterday that maybe didn't land very, very well. Number one, China is the biggest manufacturing economy in the world. When the biggest manufacturing in the economy in the world is not investing in fixed assets, it means they cannot scale up for production. That means that if we do get growth in the world, we won't be able to get the growth because China won't have any fixed assets, because China won't be able to manufacture. The second thing is, in China, the unemployment is so bad that the youth are the ones that are unemployed. Imagine a 20%, 1 in 5 youth are actually unemployed in China. What does that do to an economy? It means that the economy is going to grind to a halt. These are the people that should be adding to your economy. And Jim Cramer actually said, we're back in August 2015, same deal, China about to collapse, government urging calm, no panic, trusts offering too high return, and people watching savings wiped out. China is effectively collapsing. Rest assured, what we're getting here in the West are little snippets of what's actually going on the ground there. And what we do know is that the Chinese government is trying to save the situation. How they're trying to save the situation? They're doing what every government does when the economy starts collapsing. What does every single government do when the economy starts collapsing? You know what they do? Come on, you know what they do. They ban short selling of equities. So that's exactly what China have done. Okay, look, maybe they haven't banned it exactly. But I did see this. China asks some funds to avoid net equity sales as markets sink. Okay, they are banning short selling. Now that's the first sign of hell breaking loose on the economy. I love Jim Cramer in the chat here. I'm bullish on China. Whoever you are, you're a legend. Whoever you are, you're a legend. You're a legend. You're a legend. Part of the fam. So Chinese has warned some fund managers to avoid selling Chinese stocks. The warning comes as the stock market continues to plummet. In the last 5 days, this stock market has plummeted down. I mean, it's not plummeted. It's just a little bit down. It's not. You can't say plummeted when you've been in crypto and you see a move in the stock market of 3%. That's not a plummet. That's just a little move down. But this is also very bad for the United States. And the reason why it's so bad for the United States is because, remember, the Chinese are the biggest, the third biggest consumers of US goods. The first biggest consumers of US goods are the Mexicans. Okay. The second biggest consumers of US goods are the Canadians. And the third biggest consumers of US goods are the Chinese. So I wanted to show you just how important China is here. China. I feel like Trump today. So you can see China, the US imports $575 billion worth of goods from China in 2022. And China imports $178 billion from the US. So about 2.5 to 1. Okay, so 2.5 to 1. So if you think that if China slows down, that means that those imports are going to slow down. That means that companies like Tesla, Nike, whoever else exports goods to the Chinese market, they're going to get killed. They're going to get obliterated. So that's not going to be very good when that happens. So the first thing that China is doing is ban short selling. No more short selling. They say ask some funds to avoid net equity sales. You know what that means. In China, when they say to you, when we're asking you to please avoid equity sales, that kind of means if you do equity sales, you will end up in a Chinese prison and no one will ever see you again. That's basically what it means. The other thing which they're doing, and this is why I said it could maybe be a little bit positive for us Bitcoin people. What they did today is the last few days have seen the largest PBOC cash injection via reverse repos since February. $41 billion of liquidity was added today. So what is the Chinese government doing? Number one, reduced interest rates. We spoke about it yesterday. The interest rate reductions are the biggest interest rate reductions that they've seen in a long time. The interest rates are down to 2.5%. Then stop short selling. Don't destroy our markets. Don't destroy value. The third thing they're doing, putting more money into the economy. Look at these charts. This was the last time they put money into the economy. Look what happened to the market. What happened to Bitcoin? Bitcoin also went up. So we think that this may actually be quite a good thing. Why is this a good thing? Because if the interest rate cuts aren't working, which is what we spoke about yesterday, China's doing interest rate cuts. The interest rate cuts aren't working. Okay, so what are they doing? They're putting more money into the economy. More money in the economy means more liquidity. More liquidity equals higher Bitcoin price. And remember, if you thought that the Chinese weren't actually in the market, okay, let me tell you, they actually are in the market. In fact, don't know if you remember when we spoke about this article over here, which said crypto is illegal in China. Binance does $90 billion of business there. Anyway, the biggest Binance's trade volume in 2023 in May, China was the biggest contributor to trading volume. So this could actually be a good thing for us. So let's quickly just understand what could happen here. Number one, China collapses. Okay, I don't think China's going to collapse. I don't think the government wants China to collapse. And if China collapses, rest assured the US also collapses, because China, there's a saying that says, if China sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. I don't know if you've heard that saying. So that is what is actually happening in China. If they cannot allow China to collapse. If they do, we've got a massive problem. So if China is not going to collapse, how do they fix this? Well, one is reduce interest rates. They tried that in June. So far hasn't worked. They tried it again. So far hasn't worked. It's good for us. Reduce interest rate means increase liquidity, increase spending. The next thing that they can do is do stimulus. Put money into the economy, which is exactly what they're doing. They put money into the economy, markets go up, liquidity goes up, and number go up on Bitcoin. That's pretty much what, I mean, if you do the maths, because I know you guys are all very good at maths, number go up, money go up, number go up. Cool. So that's what you're getting. And this was the article that was the Binance article, which said that Binance, it was written by the Wall Street Journal. I think the Wall Street Journal wrote this as a hit piece about Binance. So that is the China story. And if you didn't watch our show from yesterday, I think you should go watch it. I think it is one of those shows that you should be watching. The next story is we're going from the east to the west. So we're coming back to the United States. And in the United States, it's also like a tale of two exchanges. You got Binance, which is now very, very, very strong in China, but very weak in the United States. Remember yesterday or the day before, they went to the court and they said, Josh, these things at the bottom of the screen are very nice. Very, very nice. Oh, that's amazing. You see, you know what's coming up on the show today now. I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing. Okay, so Coinbase now in the United States has received a license to do derivatives. Yes, exactly. You can now do leveraged derivatives in the United States using Coinbase. Now, the reason why I'm so excited about this is because the derivatives market is where exchanges actually make their money. They don't make money on spot. Spot fees tend towards zero. Coinbase is now the first regulated exchange in the United States to be allowed to do derivatives and, of course, leverage derivatives. So initially, they're only going to offer these contracts on Bitcoin and Ethereum to eligible customers in the United States. This is the announcement that actually came up. Coinbase Financial Markets secures approval to bring federally regulated crypto futures to eligible US customers. Coinbase has secured regulatory approval from the National Futures Association, a CFTC designated self-regulatory organization, to operate a futures commission and offer eligible US customers access to crypto futures on their platforms. That's huge. It also shows you that the CFTC is the more pragmatic regulator in the United States. And lastly, I saw a little tweet that said here, good chance that this solves the last remaining issue for Bitcoin spot ETF. Coinbase is no longer an unregulated exchange. It's now a regulated futures exchange. Now, I don't agree with his logic, but I do agree that this is a massive move in the United States because it brings price discovery into the United States and it brings the derivative market into the United States. Now, it's also a massive move for Coinbase. Let's just quickly see what the price of Coinbase is doing today. Price of Coinbase, up 2.15%. The market's open, 2.15%. Okay, so no big shakes because I think the market still has to digest this. But you look at all the amazing things that are happening at Coinbase. They've got Base. Base is generating a whole lot of fees. You've got all the other exchanges in the United States pretty much being killed. You've got derivatives now being launched. You've got Coinbase going into Canada, where Binance is no longer in Canada. So Coinbase, a lot of things are happening. And what you're realizing is that they played the slower game. It's like what's that when you tell the story to your kids, it's about the turtle and the hare. You know the story of the turtle and the hare, where, you know, the tortoise and the hare, not the turtle, it's a tortoise and a hare, and they have the race. So Binance was like the hare, running very, very forward, very fast forward. Coinbase was very much like the tortoise. Yeah, I've got to read my kids the story because I've got to brush up on my knowledge here. And now you can see the tortoise actually may be the one to win the race because they've done things thoroughly with good intentions and they're getting it all done. Cool, let's talk about another thing. Also, the tale of the East and the tale of the West. So today is all about the East and the West. East, West, East, West. So remember that 10 days ago or so, was it 10 days ago? It was the 1st of August, 2 weeks ago. You remember that the US was downgraded by the ratings agency Fitch. You remember that day. We spoke about it. We covered it. They went from AA plus to AA plus from AAA. And you can see that, again, this is a tale of the East and the West. Look at the West. The East, and you look at the West. The East is very much, Fitch looks at it as a positive outlook, and the West looks very much as a negative outlook. And it's, you know, we keep saying for crypto, the East is more important than the West, and you can kind of see it's not only for crypto, it's actually for sentiment, for ratings agencies. They're saying, look, you know, just generally we are much more bullish on anything we don't like this continent, the West continent. We don't like this. We like this side of things. Anyway, so you remember the reason that Fitch downgraded the United States? They said, look, if you increase interest rates, which is what the Fed's doing. So you increase interest rates, the Fed is increasing interest rates. The problem is that you're taking your interest payments up. And right now, your interest payments in the United States are $1 trillion a year. So imagine that the US has to generate $1 trillion a year just to meet the interest payments because they keep raising the interest rate. Now, what Fitch is saying is, look, if you're going to keep increasing interest rates, then the problem is you're not going to be able to pay your debts. And if you can't pay your debts, well, then we're going to give you a bad credit rating. Cool, so that's how it started. Now, how it's going is that initially it was limited to the country. So the country was downgraded. Now, the problem is that you've got Moody's cutting ratings of 10 US banks and putting some big names on the download list. So on the watch list to be downgraded. So a couple of banks were downgraded, but some of the big banks are now on the watch list to be downgraded. Now, why are these banks being downgraded? Well, there's a few reasons why these banks are being downgraded. The first reason why they're being downgraded is because of the increased interest rates. They're saying, look, the Fed has increased interest rates too much. As a result of the increased interest rates, remember we had that wobble of Silicon Valley Bank, and the reason why we had that wobble was because they had T-bills which were long dated. When you increase the interest rate, the value of those T-bills goes down, which means that you cannot pay back your liabilities and effectively the banks become insolvent. Fitch is worried that the banking system in the United States is insolvent. And it's a bona fide concern that the banking in the United States is not actually solvent. It is actually a bona fide concern. So that's the first thing. The second thing they said is that if the interest rates go up, then the banks are not going to be able to borrow money. And they said also that if the interest rates go up, there's going to be a recession in the United States, and that's going to slow things down. Now, all that is a bad thing. It means that the banks are going to be, the biggest banks in the United States are going to be downgraded. But is it such a bad thing? Think about this. If the banks in the United States get downgraded, and the United States has been downgraded, and the ratings agency that has said this has said that the reason why they're downgrading the United States and the banks in the United States is because they are worried about increasing interest rates. What does the US have to do to make the problem go away? Start dropping the interest rates. And if they start dropping the interest rates, then you may get the markets going back on a tear. So you may get the S&P and the NASDAQ, even though they've had 1 or 2 bad days. Let's quickly just check the NASDAQ. US Tech 100. There we go. So, I mean, they have had a couple of bad days. They've gone from a high of 15,900 to where they are today. So they've had a 5% correction. But generally, they're very much in a healthy uptrend. I mean, okay, maybe now they've broken the trend line, but they're very much on the up today. And I think that once you have a market, I mean, if you look at this market's gone from January. Let's go to January. Here's January over here. And let's just go up to here. The market's still 40% up since January. So I don't know what these people are complaining about. So I think what I wanted to show you there is I wanted to show you that when Fitch downgrades the banks, that is usually the catalyst for an uptrend in the markets. It happened in 08, 09, okay, but remember that's because of the housing market collapse. But then it happened in 2011 and happened again in 2013 or 2013, where the banks got downgraded. And as soon as the banks got downgraded, the market actually started to rally. So why am I showing this? Because it feels like if we do get the downgrades, that could be the end of the cycle, and we're going to have to stimulate the economy to get these markets upgraded. So just listen to what CNBC said about it.
Expecting they would have to look at that. And if the Fed actually has to keep rates higher for longer, then that's something that they would have to look at as a trigger for these potential downgrades.
Yeah, normalization in this case is a negative because we're coming off of such a low credit loss environment. I suppose, you know, the idea of the potential for higher borrowing costs for banks in aggregate is sort of interesting.
So they're talking about the fact that they're going to keep rates higher for longer. That's going to cause a recession. I mean, a lot of people are saying there is a recession coming in the United States. A lot of people are saying there's no recession coming in the United States. Remember, forget about all the noise. Forget about the China noise. Forget about the US markets coming down 10%. The definition of a recession is two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. Okay, where are we when it comes to 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth? We had that, but we had that earlier on this year, and I think we're actually now out of the recession. And if you look at what the forecast for the growth is, okay, so get this. This is the GDP, which is coming out on the 30th of August. Is this the Atlanta Fed? Yeah, the Federal Reserve of Atlanta, I think that they are estimating a 5% growth in the economy. Now, 5% is nowhere near a recession. At the same time, if you look at the jobs are very, very, very sticky, right? So if you compare all of those things and you say, well, we had a recession. We did have 2 consecutive quarters of GDP growth. You remember the White House, Joe Biden, and everyone said, well, this is not a recession because it was a recession. You had 2 quarters of GDP growth. You know, I'm just thinking if you were in a court of law in the United States and you did something wrong and you said, well, you know, the definition is, no, there's a definition, you stick to the definition. The definition is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. We had that. So we had a recession. We're now coming out of recession, and this is not a recession. When the Atlanta Fed is predicting a 5% growth in GDP, those are ridiculous numbers. They are ridiculous numbers. So there's no recession. The banks are going to be downgraded. Every time that the banks have been downgraded, that has actually marked the bottom, and then we've gone on a massive rally. So, I mean, maybe we should be hoping that the banks actually do get downgraded and they get what they deserve. And then maybe the markets will start, the Fed will start decreasing interest rates and actually stimulating the economy. Anyway, now that I'm finished with that, let's get into what you guys actually came for. Because you guys came for the altcoins. That's what you came for, right? Let me know in the comments if you came for the altcoins. James, Josh, did you come for the altcoins? Did you come for the salary? What did you come for? Altcoins, or just because for the salary? No, the friendship. Okay, yeah. The friendship. Let's quickly talk about some altcoins. I want to talk about Solana, but before I talk about Solana, Unibot just had another breakout, $228. We introduced it to you at like $30 or $40 when we said to you that we think that the Telegram bot narrative is going to be a huge narrative. Unibot's now $228. I think Rune is also holding up very well. We'll talk about why Rune is holding up very well. Let's look at some other ones. So say, the Koreans got hold of say. The Koreans got hold of say. I don't know if you saw this. Let's see if we've got some information here on it. I know the Koreans were the ones that were pumping say earlier on today. Let me just find you some stuff here. I'm sure I've got some stuff for you about say and the Koreans. Be very, very, very careful if you're trading on say, because they seem to have postponed the airdrop. I haven't heard any news about when the airdrop's coming out. The airdrop will put downward pressure on the price. And so I think what they're doing, if you ask me what they're doing, is they're pumping the price so that then they can do the airdrop, and that's going to put downward pressure on the price. And you can see in the last hour, this is such a great trading tool, where you can see say was up a lot, and now in the last hour it's come down. You know that there's a reversal in say. Also a reversal in Rune, also a reversal in 𝗔𝗿𝗏, even though 𝗔𝗏𝗏 was the one that liquidated me. Bloody hell, I should have just held for one day longer. So that's when it comes to say. Okay, then I saw this on Solana, and I think it's probably worth spending some time speaking about Solana. So Solana, January price, $9.90. Current price, $24.79. That's up 3x. ICP, January price, 411. Current price, 403. No move. EGLD, January price, 34. Current price, 30. Algo, January price, 19 cents. Algo has become such a shitcoin. Seriously. Nothing comes out on that token. Current price, 11 cents. AVAX, 1209. Current price, 1229. What you can see on Solana, and I read this today, it's actually had a golden cross. Now, if you believe in these technical analysis indicators, the golden cross, that's actually quite a bullish chart. We also see that Solana, I'll show you something here. I don't know why my thing is only showing Bitcoin, but let me show you some other ones. Bitcoin, Ethereum, let me bring in Solana and Matic. Solana and Matic. Maybe they call it Polygon now. It's called Polygon. So if you bring in, let's bring in all the factors. What you can see is that Solana has got higher active addresses than Ethereum for the first time in a long time. Solana has higher daily transactions. So from a fundamentals point of view, Solana is doing very, 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 very well. Someone says Solana marketing is about to 10x in the coming weeks. I think I agree. You also remember you have Solana Breakpoint coming up in October. So if you are, we're going to be there. So if you want to come to Amsterdam, we're going to smoke spliffs together. We're going to go eat waffles together. Amsterdam's a lot of fun. There's also the red light district. I know that because Sheldon told me that he went there the one day. I've never been there, but I know Sheldon went there once. And then Helium debuts a crypto wireless network in Miami for $5 a month. And I think Helium is deployed on Solana. So that's some altcoin news. Other altcoin news. I've got some other altcoin news. So ThorChain, we said that it's been very, very, very resilient. One of the things that's happened in ThorChain, they've had over $100 million in revenue on the in transactions on the native chain. In fact, much higher than $100 million. I think $314 million native token revenue. So it is getting a lot of traction. I like this tweet by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 who says, ThorChain surpassed $100 million daily volume for the first time ever, as people realize it's still the only exchange in the world where you can trade Bitcoin for Ethereum without anyone's permission. That is what ThorChain is. It's a cross-chain protocol. I'll show you, as I said, I'll show you one application. This is ThorSwap. Full disclosure, I am an investor in ThorSwap. But you can invest. Let me just connect my wallet so I can show it to you. Connect. Let me connect my wallet, my MetaMask. So there it is. I'm connected. So you can see that I'll show you. Like you can actually swap 100 ETH to, it'll give me an address now to Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on here. Why is it not letting me swap? Maybe because I don't have 100 ETH. Hold on a second. Let me just see if this wallet's got any ETH in it. Definitely doesn't have 100, that's for sure. Okay, so why won't it let me swap? Let's see. So anyway, what ThorChain does is it allows you to swap one a chain for another chain without KYC, without any of those things. And that's what Eric says here. He says, ThorChain surpassed $100 million in revenue for the first time ever as people realize it's the only exchange in the world where you don't need anyone's permission. It's a real cross-chain protocol. The other, I mean, today we're talking a lot about derivatives exchanges. The other derivatives exchange I want to talk to you about is actually our sponsor, OpenX, but I don't want to tell people that, I don't want to tell people that I'm speaking about it because it is our sponsor. I'm speaking about it because I actually I've backed these two guys, Carl and Sue, for a long time. And he says, could name a couple of dozen people who made 9 figures with us last cycle and a handful who cracked 10 figures. Some sold and are still up a lot. Others like us didn't. I'm so proud. Let's do it again. These guys are fighters. These guys are going to carry on fighting. And there's been a lot of naysayers. When I told you guys about OpenX a while back, I said, I'm not going to win any popularity contests. And you guys came down on me, or a lot of people came down on me and said, how can you support them? These guys went insolvent. And I said, there's nothing more dangerous than entrepreneurs who've built something from $0 to $5 billion, collapsed, and then have this desire and hunger to do it again. And that's exactly what they're doing. So you can see, initially, their volume was $1.26. Then their volume in day 4 was $308. Now their volume is $165 million a day. Now, why is this exchange doing so well? I'll tell you why the exchange is doing so well. Because the guys, Carl and Sue, they are the ultimate DJs. They're like us, but like times 100. And if you look at like the strategy that they're deploying, like they've done things like they were the first ones to list Unibot perpetuals. They were the first ones to list Rollbit perpetuals. You can see it all over here. So Rollbit, they were the first ones to list this. What do you call this? Harry Potter, Obama, Bitcoin. What do you call this thing? This meme coin. Whatever it is, they are now the guys that were the first guys to actually launch it. So speaking of Unibot, there are whales buying this thing. I'm telling you, Unibot is very, very, very undervalued. They're doing amazing partnerships. Yeah. So that's why I back this exchange. And I mentioned it now, not because they're our sponsor. I mentioned it because I'm actually really proud of entrepreneurs that make recoveries. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you take a chance. That's by nature what being an entrepreneur is. Most entrepreneurs actually fail. The ones that change the world are the ones that can get up and fight back again. And there's nothing more humiliating than building something amazing, being in the public eye, getting knocked down, and then having to try and get up. And that's what these guys are doing. So I'm supportive of them, and I'm watching the numbers and I'm watching the fundamentals, and it seems to be very, very good. Is today going to be the launch of Shibarium? I think it might be today. So let's keep our eyes open. I think it actually could be today. This is great news. ByBit disqualified the #1 team in the ByBit trading competition. It didn't make sense to me that these guys were doing so well. We are number 16th as a squad. But the winning squad had like crazy returns. I couldn't believe the returns. And what it turns out that they were doing is that they were actually manipulating prices by going into illiquid altcoins and then pumping up these illiquid altcoins just to win. Shows you what people will do to win $8 million. We don't need to do that because we're going to win it fair and square. We're playing like the tortoise and the hare. We like the tortoise. Let them run and get disqualified. We're going to do it the proper way. What else? I should probably mention we've got 2 new sponsors. Well, one of them is not such a new sponsor, but if you are in the United States and you do want to trade derivatives, futures, and not on Coinbase, you can do it here on CoinW. So CoinW is an exchange that does take US people. I know a lot of the Americans here have said to us, yes, you always tell us about ByBit and you always talk about the trading competition, but we can't trade derivatives. You can. It says there's an extra $30,500 in bonuses available for anyone who trades in their futures account. You can receive a $60 bonus with no deposit and no trading volume required. CoinW is offering anyone who signs up for an account $10 bonus on top of the $50 they're offering all users. So if you're in the United States, you don't need KYC to make a deposit. You don't need KYC to do anything. If you are in the United States, that's what we recommend. The other one is something that I'm quite excited about. So you guys know I'm on a bit of a health mission. I'm trying to get my health in order. I am 10 kilograms down, which is for the Americans, it's over 20 pounds down. I'm getting a little bit stronger. I mean, I don't have my 6-pack just yet. It's hard to get a 6-pack. My birthday is coming up soon, so I need to try and get it before my birthday. And the best thing is that I'm doing it without drinking the protein shakes that James drinks. Now, the reason why I talk about the protein shakes that James drinks, okay, so this is a studio. Where I am is a studio, but it's also where James sits, okay? Now, James drinks these protein shakes. I don't know what's in them. I have no idea what's in them. It feels like what it smells like. Anyway, so I'm doing it without that, like without having to do stuff like that. Anyway, so the reason why I'm so excited about that is, it's true. Come on, James. You know it's true.
Heard you were muted.
Oh, you muted me. You muted me. Okay. You want to? Yeah. And you're going to play prison rules. Okay, we'll play prison rules. James has got the microphone. So anyway, we do have a new sponsor called Amino Rewards. How this works is the more active you are, the more rewards that you earn, and you can spend them on like the most incredible brands like Nike, Puma, New Balance, Adidas, Asics, and stuff like that. They have over 200 brand partners. Go and check it out. It's called aminorewards.com. You basically you earn for doing fitness related things. So very similar to what people like Sweatcoin and them were doing, but I think in a much better way. Go and check it out. They also have these cool challenges, like these amazing challenges. Like if you do the challenge, you get a whole lot of points and stuff like that. So really worth checking out. Okay, someone says, see, James can mute me. This is a bad thing. This is, yes, okay. Let's see what else there is here. Let's see. Someone says I look tired. I am. I flew. I have a pain in my back, which I'm trying to solve. And I've had to fly on a flight to Johannesburg, which is 2 hours away, and then have a chiropractic session and then fly back another 2 hours. So I've been on airplanes for six hours today. Well, between yesterday and today, 6 hours of airplanes. Let's see, is there anything happening here? Someone says, Coinbase is invested in, okay, hold on a second. I'm reading a Coinbase article. If it's worth mentioning, I'll read it. I'll put it up here. Yeah, they're talking about the Coinbase, the Coinbase, not ETF, but you know what I'm talking about, the approval of the futures. And yeah, it's amazing. And the guys from Eric from Bloomberg says this doesn't change his probability of a approval of an ETF. I also see that both Elon and Tesla say they have never sold a single Dogecoin. They did this under oath. Wow, okay, that's amazing. What else? Is there anything else happening? I'm getting this news feed live, so this is stuff that I haven't actually seen. I'm in the newsroom. Okay. So listen, I want to show you something else, which is very cool. Josh has actually reminded me. So this is Banter Bubbles. You know it. You love it. I know you guys love this app. There is a new thing here called the newsroom, you see? And what this newsroom is, it is where we get together, the Banter research team, there are 40 of us get together and discuss the alpha that we're going to bring to the shows on the day. So if you go, again, I'll show you where it is. You go to, it's on the app as well. You go to here, you click on newsroom, and you can join in and listen to our call, but it's only the first 500 people. That call happens in 17 hours and 10 minutes. I'll see you guys there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Twitter Spaces in 10 minutes. Until then, have fun. Don't trade today. There's nothing to trade. So see you tomorrow.